In my opinion, Hurricane Ida was a blessing in disguise for the Saints.
Packers fans are idiots.
George Kittle loves to get yards, especially after the catch.
Moo moo, my dudes. What is up? It is Brandon, and we are back here with another Certified Beef episode. Today, we are going to be talking about March Madness. That's getting started, obviously, today, as I post this. So I want to take you guys through the bracket, give you some of my picks that I think may be the upset, who I think will be the eventual champion, Final Four, all that good stuff. So, yeah, let's get right into it. We're going to start in the South region. We're going to do the Alabama State-Auburn matchup first, and I think this should be a game where Auburn just cruises to a victory. This shouldn't be one that's worth watching too much. The next game down, though, however, I believe is one that should pique your interest, and that's Louisville versus Creighton. I feel very strongly about Louisville taking the win. In both my brackets I'm doing, I'm not going to pick Creighton at all. I think Louisville they were underseeded. They should not be an 8, they should be higher. And so I think they might just dismantle Creighton, honestly. Even though Creighton does have the tournament experience, and Louisville's doing kind of a quick turnaround rebuild, I feel very strongly about Louisville coming out on top here. Another game to watch in this region will be the number 5 Michigan versus the number 12 UC San Diego. I know a lot of analysts have picked this one to be an upset, where UC San Diego comes out on top because of their style of play. But after doing a little bit more digging and looking at Andy Watches Hoops on Instagram, I'm going to take Michigan because they have 2 dominant big men. One's more kind of the traditional post-up with Vlad Golden, and then you also have Danny Wolf, who is an excellent passer and can take it all 94 feet. So I think that's going to be a lot to handle for a mid-major team. And then going down the list, we got Texas A&M versus Yale. I know Yale has the tournament experience from last year. So is Texas A&M. But Yale knocking off number 4 Auburn last year, which killed my bracket. But this year, I don't think they get it done. Danny Wolf left Yale for Michigan, so you'd lose one of your biggest powerhouses there. I think that Texas A&M takes this one down. I don't know. It should be a decently close game because Yale is going to be a tough team, but I believe in Texas A&M here. And then we'll move down to the 6 Ole Miss versus number 11 North Carolina. North Carolina put on a show in the play-in game against San Diego State, and one of the play-in teams always seems to go far in recent tournaments. So I think I'm going to take UNC to beat Ole Miss in this matchup. We'll move down to Iowa State versus Lipscomb, and I'm going to take Iowa State. They're a very good team. It's 3-14, pretty self-explanatory. And then Marquette, New Mexico. I'm going to go with Marquette. They seem like they're just the better team based off of analytics, so I'm going to roll with them in the 7-10 matchup. And then Michigan State, Bryant, Michigan State. They'll take it pretty far. We'll move over to the East region now, where it'll be the number 1 seed Duke versus whoever wins the 16 play-in game. Don't really care. Duke's going to steamroll whoever they play. Next one is going to be the 8-9 Mississippi State versus 9 Baylor. I'm rolling with Mississippi State in this one. They've kind of had a resurgence this year, and they play in the SEC, which was the toughest conference to play in this year. So I like them. They score more points, and they don't give up. They only give up 5 more points on average than Baylor does in a tougher conference. Mississippi State is 8-10 in SEC play, while Baylor is 10-10 in Big 12 play, but I'm still going to take the Bulldogs on this one. Now we're moving down to number 5 Oregon versus number 12 Liberty. I saw Ryan Hammer's trapezoid of excellence that this could be a toss-up game, but I like Oregon. I usually take the teams from the bigger conferences just because they're a lot more battle-tested than these mid-major teams. And they're both playing well coming into the tournament. Oregon is 8-2, while Liberty is 9-1. But still, I think Oregon takes it down here. Then we'll go to Arizona versus Akron. I think Arizona has a tournament experience. They'll take us one down pretty easily. Moving down to BYU versus VCU. I like the Cougars in this one. They're both playing good ball, but the BYU is coming from the Big 12. They were a ranked team this year. I think that they'll beat VCU. And then Wisconsin versus Montana. Wisconsin takes it down pretty easily there. Next, we'll look at the 7-10 matchup between St. Mary's and Vanderbilt. I'm going to go with the Gales in this one. They play a very slow-paced game, but they can still score points, averaging 73.5 per game. Usually teams that can control the pace, play their style of basketball, obviously are going to come out on top, but that favors the teams that are going to play a little bit slower, have a more defensive-centric identity, and that's why I like St. Mary's in this one. And then into the final game of the East region is Alabama versus Robert Morris, the 215. Let's just stick with Alabama on this one. No real debate up there. And then we'll move to the West region. We got number 1 seed Florida versus number 16 Norfolk State. Florida is going to roll in this one. And then we got number 8 UConn versus number 9 Oklahoma. Oklahoma is way overseeded in this tournament. And you got Dan Hurley, back-to-back champs. It's going to be UConn. I don't see any other way that Oklahoma just wins this game. An interesting game in the West will be number 5 Memphis versus number 12 Colorado State. Both teams are extremely hot right now. Memphis going 9-1 and Colorado State going 10-0, which they were basically in a win and in situation in the Mountain West Conference tournament. But I like Memphis in this one. Yes, they're missing Tyrese Hunter, one of their better players, but I just trust Memphis more. They've had a really good season, and yeah, I think they take it down, and I think they make it decently far in this tournament. And then we'll move on to Maryland and Grand Canyon. I'm going to choose Maryland, one, because they play in the Big Ten, which was the second hardest league to play in this year. And then also they are in the trapezoid of excellence where you want to be to try and win a title. Like, yes, there are some outliers that have won it, obviously, but Maryland is right in there. And I think they just play a good brand of basketball, and I think they run away with this game. And then we're going to go with Missouri versus Drake. Drake has the tournament experience again, but Missouri's been really good this year. Been ranked a few times. But I'm going to go with Drake in this one. Maybe it's just a little bit of the Iowa bias. But I like Drake to finally get it done this year. Next up is number 3, Texas Tech versus number 14, UNC Wilmington. Texas Tech, no debate there. They've been a great team this year. And then we got number 7, Kansas versus number 10, Arkansas. Bill Self versus John Calipari. I like Kansas in this one. I think they got the better players here. And I think they have something to prove after such like a horrible regular season that they're like, nope, we are still one of the better teams in college basketball. They just got put together. And then we have St. John's, number 2, versus number 15, Omaha. Rick Pitino. St. John's moves on. Finally, we'll move on to the Midwest region. You got number 1, Houston versus number 16, Southern Illinois, Edwardsville. It's going to be Houston all the way. Next, we got number 8, Gonzaga versus number 9, Georgia. And Gonzaga is a sneaky good team this year. Like, they might not jump out at you because of their seed at number 8. But I like this team a lot, and I think they'll make it out of the first round pretty easily. Next up, we have the 5-12 Clemson versus McNeese State. I'm going with the Cowboys on this one because of Amir Khan, the McNeese State manager who walks out with the boombox, kind of the 49ers vibes. But I love it. I think this team has swagger, and I think this might carry them into the next round and get over the hump that they didn't get last year. Next up, we got number 4, Purdue versus number 13, High Point. And I've seen a lot of people also pick High Point to win this game over Purdue. Like, yes, Purdue has not been the best. Besides last year, they have not been the best in the tournament. But Purdue is still a very good team. I think their two-man between Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Wren will be a lot to handle. And so I think that even if High Point bottles those two guys up, you still got Fletcher Lawyer on the outside who shoots the lights out from three. And they got enough role players that they can carry their own weight. I think Purdue takes this one down. Next we have number 6 Illinois versus the play-in between Texas or Xavier. And I like Illinois in this one. They got decently far last year. I think they do that again this year. Moving on to the number 3, Kentucky versus number 14, Troy. I like Kentucky in this one. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. I have seen that Troy might pull the upset. I mean, obviously we remember St. Peter's doing that a few years ago. And Oakland doing it last year with Jack Golke. But I like Kentucky to make it out of the first round this time. And then we're moving on to the 7 UCLA versus the number 10 Utah State. Give me the Bruins in this one. And finally, we'll move down to number 2 Tennessee versus number 15 Wofford. It's going to be Tennessee, no doubt in my mind about that. Moving on to some teams that I have going decently far that you might not expect. One team that I have going decently far in this is Michigan. I have them losing in the Sweet 16 to Auburn. I think they go this far because, A, you have Dusty May, who took FAU to the Final Four just a few years ago. You got Vlad Golden. You got Danny Wolf. Trey Donaldson is playing his best ball so far this year. If they can limit the amount of turnovers, this team will be incredible. But I think they make it out of the first weekend for sure. Another team I have going decently far is number 11 UNC. I like this UNC team because they absolutely just dismantled San Diego State. They got the tournament experience, and RJ Davis is still doing RJ Davis things. I think they beat Ole Miss, and then I think they beat Iowa State because one of the play-in teams has made it to the Sweet 16. I don't know how many straight years, but it's been quite a few. And then, Iowa State is without Keyshawn Gilbert, one of their best players. I think that UNC rides this wave from the play-in to the Sweet 16 where they eventually lose to Michigan State. Another team I like is Maryland. I have them going all the way to the Elite 8 where they lose to St. John's. Their net ranked is number 10. They score 81 points a game. They have not been playing their best basketball that you want to see. They're only 7-3. But then again, that means they have more in the tank. They're not riding a super high that they need to keep up. Derek Queen has been insane this year. So I'm banking on that they can make it to the Elite 8. They're a good team. They're in the trapezoid of excellence on where you want to be to win a championship. And they match up well against all the teams. I have them being Florida, and maybe it's just because I didn't watch enough SEC college basketball this year, but I don't know how to feel about this Florida team. I don't know how good they are. They're still making it to the Sweet 16 in my bracket, but I don't know if they're, the best number 1 seed or, people have said they're the most complete team. I don't know if I buy that or not. Maybe that's just a super casual take. I'll take it, whatever. But yeah, I like Maryland to go quite the distance here. And then also St. John's, I know they're a 2 seed, but they're on the up and up. Rick Pitino could become the first coach to take, I believe it's 6 different teams to the Final Four, and I think he does it this year. I don't have him winning it all, but I believe in Rick Pitino there. And then in the Midwest, I like Illinois is the one that goes the farthest. That's kind of the underdog there. They lose in the Sweet 16 to Tennessee. I think that Kentucky unravels after the first game and that Illinois can capitalize off of that and move on to eventually lose to Tennessee. And then I don't really have much upsets or teams going far that shouldn't in the East region. I guess the lowest seed that makes it to the Sweet 16 is the 6 BYU. They beat number 3 Wisconsin in the round of 32. But otherwise, like, they're a team that's capable of making it to the Sweet 16 or Elite 8. But they are the lowest seed that got moving on to at least Sweet 16 here. So finally, let's move on to the Final Four prediction that I got. This has gone through some changes even today before I started recording this. Originally had Michigan State winning it all, but then something in my gut changed that, so they did not make the Final Four even. Alright, so coming out of the South, we have Auburn, and then out of the West, we got St. John's. I like Auburn to win that game. And then out of the East, we have Duke, and then out of the Midwest, we have Tennessee. I'm going to take Duke there. They are rolling right now. I just don't know how much their inexperience is going to get them with Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple. Duke is definitely a worthy team to make it to the Final Four. And then for my final, I got Auburn and Duke, and I picked Auburn to win it all last year, and they lost in the first round as a 4 seed to number 13 Yale. This year, I think they turned around, do a semi-Virginia, and I think they win the national championship this year in San Antonio. So, yeah, those are just my thoughts on this March Madness. Sorry if the audio quality isn't that great. I am on vacation right now recording this, so I have to use my Beats earbuds and sit in my hotel room and do this. But, yeah, thank you guys for listening. Hope this is a great March Madness. And, yeah, we'll see you guys on the next episode.